Hi, my name is Ted Sellers, and I'd like to share with you a teaching and some diagrams that I think can really make a difference in your life. I know they have for me. I think life would be really easy to live if it weren't for people, because they always seem to do things that offend us and hurt us. And what do we do with that? We can't just ignore it. No one can live very long without being hurt by someone. And we experience people who snub us and insult us and betray us, embarrass us and belittle us and ignore us. What do we do? Maybe you've seen the popular bumper sticker that says, "I don't get mad, I get even." Revenge is not really the answer. We need to leave that in the hands of God. He said, "Never take your own revenge, but leave room for the wrath of God. For it is written, 'Vengeance is mine, I will repay,' says the Lord." Well, let's look at a process of someone receiving an offense and then how forgiveness can be applied for good results. When a genuine offense or sin is committed against you, the person who hurt you may feel guilty before God. Now, you can't do anything about that guilt. When you are offended, you lay on the offender the responsibility for hurting you. You begin to see that person as guilty. Then you develop a grudge toward that person. That grudge causes you to be emotionally bound to that person who hurt you. And there's a bondage there. It's like chains. And this bondage can never be broken except through forgiveness. Even if the offender dies, you can still feel bound to him or her. The offender should ask your forgiveness, but may never do so. So you must forgive that person so you can be free from this bondage. That is why some people who have been hurt by a parent or authority figure end up becoming like that person. For example, a person may vow to never become like his father or mother, but because of that bondage, they keep making decisions similar to the way the other person made decisions, and it affects others, even to their own children. Now, you can remove the guilt from the person who hurt you. You put it on, you can take it off. You can't do anything about the guilt that they feel toward God. You can also not eliminate the guilt the person may have legally. For example, you could forgive a person for robbing you, but they could still be arrested and sent to jail. That's because they broke the law. You can remove the guilt from someone even if they don't request it. Remember when Jesus was hanging on the cross, he said, "Father, forgive them. They do not know what they're doing." They weren't asking him to forgive them. And the very cool thing is you have this same forgiving Jesus living in you if you're his child. And you can depend on him to do this through you. You don't even have to feel forgiving toward that offender. To identify the guilt, it will be helpful to write out a list of what the person did to you. That's called the offense. What did they say to you or do to you? Or maybe what they did not do that's hurt you. Don't try to defend their actions, for example, by saying, "Well, my mother did the best she could," but what she did still hurt you. So write out a list of the offenses. There's a second list. This is how you felt as a result of what the person did. It's your emotions. So look over the first list and think about how you felt when these things took place. You could have felt rejected or lied to, used, abused, afraid, manipulated, or just plain stupid. One more list is necessary. The third list is the ramifications of what the person did. And these are seen in all 7 areas of life. See, the offense is like a large rock dropped in a pond. The ramifications are like the ripples, and they can be going on to this very day. For example, going through a divorce can have ramification in several areas. Spiritually, a person could have a hard time trusting God because they may have asked God to stop the divorce and he didn't do it. Psychologically, a person could have many fears about the future and difficulty in making decisions. Socially, many of this person's former friends don't want to talk to them because they don't want to pick sides. So now there's a problem socially. Physically, a person could have suffered physical problems because of going through the divorce, not able to sleep, and maybe had sickness. And even financially, another area of life. Because of going through a divorce, now the person might be strapped financially or have to have several jobs. And parentally, Their children could miss their dad or their mom or cry when they're forgotten on their birthdays. So this ramification list is very important because these are the things that are actually happening right now, even though the offense may have happened years ago. Now, as you take off the guilt, you remove these three lists from the offender. It's similar to what happened in the book of Leviticus on the Day of Atonement. In chapter 16, a special goat was selected. It was called the scapegoat. It was called the goat of removal. The high priest would lay both of his hands on the head of this goat and confess all the sins of the people of Israel. Then the goat was led out into the wilderness, never to be seen again. It was a picture of God removing all the sins of all the people from them. And this is what you will do. As you go down the list in prayer, you'll be telling God that you are removing from the offender everything he or she did, all of the offenses. And then all of the emotions that you felt, you remove them. And all of the ramifications, you remove them from that person. Well, what do you do with all of that? You quickly put all of that into the hands of God. The offense, your emotions, the ramifications, and the offender. You put that person in his hands and then let go. Back off. You're sending away that offender just like the scapegoat was sent away, never to be seen again. Now there's one final issue that must be faced. What was done to you was wrong, but maybe you've reacted in a wrong way toward the offender. Have you been bitter or hateful? Have you gossiped or slandered that person? If so, then you need to confess those sins to God, including that grudge and anything else that God shows you. This completes human forgiveness. When you think about that person now, do you see them as guilty toward you? If you've forgiven them, they won't be guilty. Now, they could offend you tomorrow. What will you do? Forgive them right away. Now, do you tell the person what you've just done, that you've forgiven them? No. That could cause problems. They might not think they've done anything wrong. This forgiveness is just between you and the Lord. Now that you've seen this process laid out, does someone come to your mind? Someone maybe you need to forgive? In Mark 11:25, it says, "And whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone." Do you have anything against anyone? Then it's time to use the diagram to forgive. Colossians 3:13 says, "Forgiving each other, whoever has a complaint against anyone." Do you have a complaint? It could be a major complaint or just a simple irritation. Don't let it continue. Forgive them. When you hear people talk about another person with anger or bitterness, you could reply, "I know how you feel. I felt that same way recently, but I did something that really helped me, and I no longer feel bitter." If they ask you what you did, you can tell them that by God's help you forgave the person who hurt you, and you'd be happy to share that process with them. If you approach your friend gently and humbly, they might be willing to go through this material with you. That would be fun. You've been set free to set your friend free. So may you live a life of forgiveness and be quick to share this with others so that they can do the same thing.